You never really know when greatness will call your name. One moment you're an unassuming music teacher from Georgia, the next you're chasing an impossible world record in one of the most technical and grueling speedruns of all time. The grind drags on for months and years. Your patience is tested, your nerves become raw. Sometimes you have to stop for your own sanity. Sometimes you want to give up forever. How do you handle the pressure? How do you keep going when the game itself seems to fight against you? This is the story of those who persevered against the odds. This is a story which has been left untold until now. This is the story of The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess Speedrunning. The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess is the 12th mainline entry in the venerable Legend of Zelda franchise. Released in November 2006 for the Wii, and a month later for the GameCube, Twilight Princess has been variably hailed as one of the greatest games of all time, and as an emo retread of its predecessor, Ocarina of Time. Many love its immense, for the time, overworld, intricate and interesting dungeons, and a large cast of characters. Others decry how empty that overworld can feel, and how those characters are often shallowly drawn. Twilight Princess doesn't seem to have a lot of people who are neutral towards it. You either love it or you hate it. It bounces all over lists of best and worst Zelda games, and it seems to be critically reappraised more often than most Zelda titles. But as interesting as these debates are, they aren't why we're here today. No, we're here to talk about Twilight Princess speedrunning. Now, as is often the case with other games, there are several different Twilight Princess speedrunning categories. The most prominent ones at this time are any percent, all dungeons, and 100%. We'll be mostly talking about any percent today, though we'll allude to all dungeons and 100% world records at different points of the documentary. Like many games, Twilight Princess's documented speedrun history stretches back to the 2000s, and like many games, that early history is often a bit difficult to correctly document. So I want to give a huge shout out to Hornlitz and her extensive research on Twilight Princess speedrunning history. Her notes were super helpful for my video, and I'll link those in the video description so you can see her work for yourself. As is so often the case with speedruns of popular games, eager glitch hunters immediately got to work breaking Twilight Princess open upon its release. Fierce Link Master discovered two major glitches. The first, Ordon Gate Clip, is a sequence break in which the player uses a carefully positioned rock and a precise side hop to skip the game's opening tutorial. This is a foundational glitch for Twilight Princess that is still used today. The second, which I like to call Speedy Iron Boots, is a Wii-only glitch which allowed the player to run at full speed with the iron boots on the normally very slow magnetic paths of Goron Mines. Another glitch hunter, Petrie911, found ways to skip large sections of Lakebed Temple. There would be more glitch hunters over the next year, such as Sexy Zora 19, Kirby, Kazooie, and Logitech SDAZ, and they all should be remembered as founding parents of Twilight Princess speedrunning. Without them, the run might look very different today. With them, Twilight Princess speedrunners very quickly started setting fast times. The first recorded run of the game, according to ZeldaSpeedruns.com, was done on January 6, 2007 by Giano. Fans of the Super Smash Bros. Melee competitive scene may know Giano as a skilled Captain Falcon main who had a long tenure career that resulted in quite a few top 5 finishes and a number 1 spot in the Kentucky Power Rankings in fall 2015. Giano's YouTube channel still exists and is a really neat snapshot of what competitive Melee was like in the 2000s. However, we're more interested in Giano's Twilight Princess speedrunning career, and he has the honor of being the first ever person to speedrun TP, as far as we know. Giano's initial run clocked in at 6:57, but he quickly lowered it to 6:18. This run was the foundation for the work of several other speedrunners of this time. However, it quickly became obsolete, as by April 6th he had sliced over an hour off of his time. This 5:45:12 run is the earliest Twilight Princess speedrun for which there is video proof, and you can still see it on Giano's YouTube channel. While the run is split into over 40 parts for reasons I'll explain in a bit, it is a priceless historical treasure in spite of its difficulty. It's also one of the only any percent world records done on the Wii, because Kazooie, the previously mentioned glitch hunter, discovered one of the most important glitches in Twilight Princess history a few months later, the boomerang long jump attack. Simply put, by pulling out the boomerang, throwing it over a void, and doing a jump attack, Link could fling himself over huge distances. However, this glitch could only be done on GameCube, so future world record competitors would only play on GameCube, at least until separate Wii leaderboards were created, but that's a story for another video. Armed with the boomerang LJA and other glitches discovered over the course of 2007, Giano would continue to run the game for 2 years, ultimately producing his magnum opus, a 356 flat. This run has no video proof because it was submitted to Speed Demo's archive, but what we do have is an extensive write-up from Giano about what he did to score the first sub-4 time in TP Any percent. This is also an important historical document because it gives a snapshot of the TP speedrun at this time. Giano would not return to Twilight Princess speedrunning after this, but his place in history is assured. Funnily enough, Giano states at the beginning of his run summary that he is, quote, sure that 351 is as good as a human could possibly get. Connoisseurs of speedrunning history videos are probably aware that when a speedrunner says a time can't be broken, they're probably wrong, but in this case, it would take a couple of years for someone to challenge Giano's assertion. Now let's switch gears for just a moment and talk about segmented speedruns. Well, what is a segmented run? This is when a speedrunner records individual segments of a speedrun, then stitches them together to create their best time. Segmented runs have long fallen out of style in the speedrunning community, but they used to be highly valued as proofs of concept for how quickly a speedrun could theoretically be done, as well as a showcase for an individual runner's skill in various areas of the game. Think of them as a precursor to the contemporary tool-assisted speedrun. Giano had toggled back and forth between segmented and single-segment runs over his speedrunning career, but ultimately chose to focus on single-segment runs, in what we'd now refer to as the any percent no save and quit category. However, October 2011 heralded a new segmented run that would change the TP speedrunning conversation forever. Paraxade, who is now known as Aruki, had been an active glitch hunter in the community since 2007, discovering or refining several skips such as boko pushing. Finally, they decided to put together a segmented run of their own to demonstrate the contemporary limits of what was possible with the speedrun, and submitted it to Speed Demo's archive. Along with their run, Paraxade also provided a truly massive write-up describing each segment in detail, providing proof that glitches such as Super Jump, Map Glitch, and Air Refill Glitch were being used at this time by speedrunners. The run itself is marvelous. Paraxade painstakingly recorded 28 segments from July to September 2010, took a break until June 2011, then performed the last 10 segments from June to October of that year. The whole process took 15 months and ought to be remembered as one of the early pillars of TP speedrunning. But most importantly, the run demonstrated how far the frontier of TP speedrunning could be pushed. Final time, 3:09:54, over 40 minutes faster than Giano's theoretical limit. Paraxade had incorporated every trick in the book into their run, making it the manual on how to speedrun the game from this point forward. At this point, it was glaringly obvious that somebody was going to break the world record soon, but who was going to do it? Rob West had taken the first steps to answering this question a couple of months before Paraxade's finished segmented run. In August 2011, Rob West reignited the Twilight Princess speedrunning scene, which had fallen dormant after Giano's dominance, by beating the world record with a 3:55:33, 27 seconds faster than Giano's time. Incidentally, he was doing this on a platform called Justin TV, which would later evolve into some website called Twitch. Yes, Rob West is one of the OG Justin people who helped the platform grow into the Twitch we all know and tolerate. Anyway, he would eventually lower the world record to a 3:52.56. However, both of these times were technically in the any percent no save and quit category because Speed Demo's archive considered any use of save and quit strategies to create a segmented run. The birth of the modern any percent category would have to wait until 2 days before Christmas 2011, when IngX24, also known as IngX32, decided they wanted to use save warps in their run, and immediately scored a 350. By February 2012, Ing had lowered it to 342, according to the ZSR, and 341.45, according to their own YouTube channel. Around this time, Logitech SD-AZ discovered another trick called Pillar Clip. Hornlets describes this as the player maneuvering Link to sink down to a pillar right by the entrance to Lakebed Temple, clip through the wall, and use iron boots to swim over to the loading zone. The already quite broken Lakebed Temple now had an absolutely outlandish and difficult method of entrance, just waiting for someone equally outlandish to use it. Enter Pheno. Pheno would become the god of the ancient age of TP speedrunning. Not only did he set 4 any percent world records over the course of 2012, he would set 3 any percent no save and quit world records, and the first 5 100% category world records. This man was unstoppable. He had a knack for extremely clean segments that allowed him to get outlandish times. Pheno's assault on the any percent category took the record from 336 to 333 to 328 to 322 by the end of 2012. He didn't stop there though. Pheno was the first person to do a recorded run of the 100% category, ending up with a final time of 8:53.49. And over the course of one magical week at the beginning of 2013, Pheno got the all dungeons and any percent no save and quit world records too. Yes, Pheno was the first person ever to hold all Big 4 world records at once. I am not joking when I refer to him as a speedrun god. But Pheno wasn't just the best runner TP had ever seen, he was also a magnet for bizarre run-ending mishaps.
What? Did that Zora just like... What? What is this glitch? Hello? What is this? Hello? He hit me into the trigger.
It's probably not a coincidence that interest in Twilight Princess hit an upswing in the year after Pheno's assault on the TP leaderboards. His reign marks the end of purely single-person chases for the TP any percent world record, and therefore the end of the ancient age of TP speedrunning. Pheno would continue to be involved in the TP community in various ways, but he leaves our story for now. The golden age of TP speedrunning began inauspiciously enough, with Jack268 submitting a time of 4:02.48 in February 2013. Jack would never submit another run, but their time is significant for a couple of reasons. First, though speedrun.com was not founded until 2014, Jack's speedrun is the first ever TP run recorded on speedrun.com. Thus, it marks a kind of transition point from Speed Demo's archive, which had strict rules limiting the kinds of glitches that made people want to run Twilight Princess, to speedrun.com, which did not have such rules. And second, it marks the beginning of a new wave of Twilight Princess speedrunners who arrived in 2013. Some of these runners weren't particularly serious, as sure as 18-hour time comes to mind, but others were. People like the OOT, Venick, and Koravi all joined the leaderboards in 2013. Venick sometimes spent his time causing Pheno to epically fail.
Hola, mi amigo.
What have I come to?
Damn it, Vinnick, that was your fault.
But was a skilled runner of the game, ending with a final time of 3:31:33 in August 2013. Twilight Princess got a visibility boost from being performed by Mofit, also known as Mo Kate, as the final run of Summer Games Done Quick 2013. This run is notable for briefly featuring a very young Spike Vegeta on the host mic, and an absolutely bizarre cutscene glitch featuring a terrifyingly deformed Link. Interestingly, Mofit was also a Melee player of some repute in Oregon, meaning that multiple high-level runners have also been Melee competitors. She has continued to be somewhat active in the community, most recently posting a 3:22:53 in the No Save and Quit category in 2023. However, all of this was simply prelude to the first great any percent world record competition between two of Twilight Princess's most legendary runners. Competitor number 1, Samurai Man. Samu is a Finnish speedrunner who's been competing since the early 2010s. When I tell you this man is prolific, I mean it. He started in 2011 by performing the first recorded any percent run of Crash Bandicoot, a time that would not be beaten for over a year, as well as doing runs of Mario Kart Wii. He has submitted times for 7 different Zelda games in the past few months as of this video's publication. Friends, Samurai Man has 271 categories on his personal leaderboard on speedrun.com. Let me repeat that, 271! He is one of the most prolific speedrunners of all time, and one of his first speedruns was Twilight Princess. Samurai Man started speedrunning the No Save and Quit category of TP in early 2013, but soon added any percent to the mix. His initial PB of 3:47:24 fell quickly to 3:33:18, then 3:29:58, then to a 3:27. Sometimes things went very well for Samu.
Before first try.
Other times, disaster struck. Clearly, though, he was a threat to Fino's year-old record if he could just keep motivated. But Samu, who had speedrun Super Mario Sunshine before TP, wanted to go back to Sunshine. So, he decided to do one last run before switching.
This will be my last attempt, then I will switch to Sunshine.
The run started off average, with Samu running behind his PB splits. But starting with the Gale Boomerang, he suddenly started gaining huge chunks of time.
Alright.
By the time Samu was in the Twilight Realm, he knew the run was something special.
Where is this Pino? To see this happening.
As the run neared its end, Samu talked about how much he'd practiced for this moment. He just had to survive the Palace of Twilight in Ganondorf in order to score a huge PB, and maybe something more.
Am I master? Nice. Finished.
3:20:21. On the last run of his TP career, Samu captured the world record. He had survived having half a heart for a significant part of the Palace of Twilight. Had Samu been hit just once by an enemy during that part of the run, he would have lost the world record. His record could have been even better too. He had a bad fight with Zan, one of the final bosses of TP, and had some additional time losses throughout Hyrule Castle. However, RNG blessed Samu with a 7-cycle Zelda, which is the minimum number of attack cycles Zelda can give in order to defeat her. This wasn't a small record either. Samu blew it away by 2 minutes. He was on top of the any percent world for 5 days. Remember how I mentioned that there was a competition for the any percent world record? Well, a guy by the name of Rodner was the other contender for the world record. Rodner is a bit of an enigma now because he deleted his entire YouTube channel and all of his VODs. But he has been called, beyond a doubt, the funniest TP runner to live by another eminent TP speedrunner. He was also unlike anything Twilight Princess had ever seen. Samu, as it turns out, had fibbed a bit, and he decided to work on Twilight Princess All Dungeons before moving on to Mario Sunshine. He barely had time to celebrate his any percent record before Rodner beat it by 2 minutes, same as Samu's previous record. Undeterred, Samu casually scored the All Dungeons record on September 29th before regaining the any percent world record on October 9th, then lowering it to a 3:17:45 the next day. This time it took Rodner nearly a month to beat Samu, first obtaining a 14-second world record in November, then lowering the time to 3:14:59 in December. Then for good measure, he got the All Dungeons and any percent no save and quit records too, although Samu did manage to get any percent no save and quit back the day after Rodner set that world record. At the end of the year, Rodner was on top of the world. I do, however, have to mention one other person who did runs in 2013 and to this point has never come back. His name? ZFG. He's most famous currently for his Zelda randomizer runs, but back in 2013, ZFG was, among other things, a TP glitch hunter and speedrunner. He helped refine the method for the early City in the Sky trick and also set a respectable PB of 3:32:18. ZFG has stated that he will return someday to Twilight Princess, but as of this video, we are still waiting. 2014 dawned with Rodner as arguably the best Twilight Princess speedrunner in the world. His case only grew stronger when he lowered the any percent world record to 3:13:25 in February, then captured no save and quits world record on May 5th. To cap off his iconic year, he got back-to-back All Dungeons world records on May 6th. Suddenly, Rodner held 3 of the big 4 world records, leaving only 100%. If he focused on 100%, he could be the second to hold all 4 world records at once. But instead, Rodner chose to continue running any percent due to a huge new route change precipitated by a tool-assisted speedrun by our old friend Fino and a glitch hunter named Rachel Brick. Rodner's efforts were rewarded with another big world record, 3:12:42 on June 29th, and it was just as well because Rodner suddenly had a new challenger, and it wasn't Samu. Samu had indeed gone back to Super Mario Sunshine as he'd originally planned. That left an opening for a new competitor. This time it was a Norwegian runner named Sapphire, or Zaf for short. Zaf had initially worked on any percent no save and quit in 2013, but quickly switched to any percent in 2014. His progress was slow. His first any percent PB from February clocked in at 3:18:11, but his 3:17:06 didn't come until June 24th. Something about that 3:17 lit a fire in Zaf, and he quickly ground out a 3:12:20 to win the world record on July 3rd. The next day, Rodner casually beat Zaf's world record by over a minute, then dropped the first ever sub 3:10 time 2 weeks later. Zaf responded with the 3:10:52, and then a 3:09:54, but he faded from the any percent chase afterward. Rodner had beaten another competitor, but his next battle would not be so easy. Rob West inaugurated the All Dungeons category on July 4th, 2012. Over the next couple of years, this category became home to a spirited battle between Fino, Rodner, and Samurai Man, then gradually mutated into Rodner fending off a newcomer, Gear Adam, often known as simply Adam. I already told you that Rodner had achieved an iconic All Dungeons double world record in May 2014. What I didn't tell you was that this was in response to Adam dethroning him in All Dungeons the month before. Adam would not only challenge Rodner, but drive him out of the category entirely. Rodner would never again get a world record in All Dungeons after his double PB. Starting from September 27th, 2014, Adam would begin a 4-year reign atop the All Dungeons leaderboards that would see him lower the top time by an astonishing 16 minutes. Unfortunately, like Rodner's, many of Adam's older PBs were deliberately deleted off YouTube, so we only have old leaderboards and memories to go on, but it's enough to piece together the narrative of what happened. And once he'd established dominance over All Dungeons, it's only natural that Adam would turn his eyes to another category, and he chose any percent. Rodner had gotten a 3:08.53 on September 28th, but it wasn't enough. Just a week after his All Dungeons world record, Adam dethroned Rodner in any percent with a 3:07.14, almost 2 minutes faster than the previous world record. But Rodner's magic continued to hold, and he scored a 3:06.04 on October 16th. And that was where the world record stood by the end of the year. 2014 was a great year for Twilight Princess speedrunning in other ways besides world records. Fino ran All Dungeons Awesome Games Done Quick 2014, giving Twilight Princess the honor of being featured at back-to-back GDQ events. The run started after midnight local time, and watching it back now, it has the drowsy, cozy feel of a sleepover with your best friends. However, what happened at the end of 2014 was not just fun, it was crucial for the further development of the speedrun. Dragonbane and SVA were a pair of TP glitch hunters who had, early in the year, figured out how to save multiple minutes in the any percent run by manipulating the game's save system in order to skip a sizable portion of the Forest Temple. Several months later, the two of them got to work streamlining the run. To quote Hornlets, the Phantom Xant fights were sped up considerably, Beast Ganon no longer was random, and Argarok had some cool new strategies. Dragonbane and SVA's work meant that a new world record was only a matter of time. Who was going to get it? The year 2015 dawned a little too quietly. Nobody in the world record chase made any moves for several weeks. Finally, on January 29th, Adam struck with a 3:05.40, lowering the top time by 24 seconds. 2 days later, he knocked a minute off Fino's no save and quit record. The battle was officially on. From here, Rodner and Adam struggled for months trying to one-up each other. But increasingly their competition wasn't just about being the fastest. No, a bigger question hung over them both. Who was going to get the first sub-3 hour any percent time? The entire Twilight Princess community eagerly followed every run to see who'd be the legend to do it. And then, on May 27th, somebody dropped a bomb into the race. But it wasn't Adam or Rodner, it was Dragonbane. Dragonbane had discovered a new glitch in the City in the Sky dungeon that allowed players to save about a minute. By utilizing the oddly shaped hitbox of Wolflink to avoid triggering the fan room, speedrunners could go backwards through the second half of the dungeon, getting the boss key early. Whoever could pull off this glitch would get a free minute of time save, which meant that obtaining the record just became a whole lot easier. And with that, Rodner beat world record by over a minute a few days after Dragonbane uploaded a video of the glitch. A couple of weeks later, he got a 3:00.59. A month later, he got a 3:00.06. Absolutely tragic, but he didn't give up. The chase continued for a few weeks, but the last week of July was dominated by SGDQ 2015, and once again, Twilight Princess was featured. Adam was scheduled to run any percent on the 27th, but had to drop from the marathon for personal reasons, so Chaotic Ace stepped in. Who's that? Well, Ace had started running the game a little while before in 2015, and just happened to be at GDQ that year. Impressively, he volunteered to take over for Adam, and though he wasn't very prepared, Ace gamely finished his run in 3:17.55, an absolutely legendary introduction to the wider speedrunning world. Keep Ace's name in mind. He'll go backstage for now, but trust me, he's coming back. That same day, Rodner was working on any percent again. Adam was a minute and a half behind him, so Rodner had a bit of a cushion in the race for sub-3, but Adam was skilled enough to beat Rodner at any time. And then, suddenly, Rodner got on a pacer. The only surviving complete footage of this run has no splits, so we can't easily compare it to efforts by other speedrunners. We don't even have video of Rodner himself playing. It's just the raw footage of his run. But, unlike so many of Rodner's other runs, it survived. And thank God it did, because this run was the first sub-3 hour in the history of Twilight Princess. Rodner did what was once considered impossible. And barring a future revolutionary glitch, 3 hours will be the last hour barrier broken in this speedrun. Let me tell you what Skyrion, one of Twilight Princess's most respected speedrunners, says about Rodner. He was like the cool big brother everyone had always wanted. He took speedrunning both very seriously and also very lighthearted. By that I mean he would have strict practice regimes, but also not take himself nor the game too seriously at times. Rodner always made everyone laugh, and so effortlessly. Rodner will forever be a legend in the Twilight Princess speedrunning community. After this, Rodner was done, and with good reason. What did he have left to accomplish or prove? It fell to others to try to improve on what he'd done. After the sub 3, Adam stopped trying to beat the any percent record for a while and turned his attention to other categories. His grinding in any percent paid off. Within days, he'd scored the first sub 700% world record. A few days after that, he got the no save and quit world record. You'll recall that Adam had held the Aldentions world record since 2014, which means that Adam now held 3 of the 4 major category records. All that was left was, you guessed it, any percent. So Adam started grinding any percent again. If he could get world record from Rodner, he'd be the second person in history to hold all 4 category records at once. But it was not to be. A runner named Devil's Lair had first won the 100% world record with a 7:28:30 back in May 2014, as well as all dungeons in September 2014. Devil occasionally dabbled in any percent and would ultimately gain a sub 3 time in 2019, but his bread and butter were 100% and all dungeons. Adam had taken all dungeons from Devil a few weeks after Devil got it, and followed up with 100% a year later. So it was only fitting that Devil ruined Adam's quadrifecta by taking 100% back on October 5th, then lowering the record to 653.44 on the 7th. That same day, Adam got any percent, beating Rodner's time by 5 seconds. He'd missed the quadrifecta by 2 days. But Adam forged on, and in a legendary feat, he got a 2:59:05 on Halloween. He still held 3 out of 4 major world records at the end of 2015. I haven't done much research on this, but I'm pretty sure that Adam's Halloween world record is the greatest speedrun ever done on October 31st. As ever, the any percent leader would not remain unchallenged for long. First, Adam tangled with Devil's Lair, and now he faced Demon. Yes, the poor man had to face not 1, but 2 infernal beings in his speedrunning quest. Demon had been a longtime 100% speedrunner with several world records from 2013 and 2014. He'd switched over to any percent by 2015 and steadily lowered his time to 3:01:06 by November 2nd. Not much happened for a couple months. Then suddenly on January 8th, Demon got the 3rd ever sub 3 time, powered by an incredible gold split on the first half of the Arbiter's Grounds dungeon, and another gold split in Hyrule Castle near the end of the run. The scary thing, Demon had made mistakes. His early game wasn't great. He missed a tough LJA in City in the Sky, and he got a 9-cycle Zelda fight. Demon's final time was 2:59:33. If he could get such a time with significant mistakes and RNG issues, what was going to happen when he got a great run? World record, just 3 days after getting his first sub 3. And not only that, Demon had gotten the world's first 258, cementing his place in Twilight Princess history forever. Nobody, not even Rodner and Adam the Greats, had done it, but you know the story by now. There's always a champion, and always a challenger, and Demon was about to face an exceedingly powerful adversary. Meet SVA. I introduced him earlier in the video as a glitch hunter, but that's only a part of his story. SVA is an absolutely legendary Japanese speedrunner who has speedrun every mainline 3D Zelda game. Seriously, go take a look at his speedrun.com profile. I think he's run half the categories for every 3D Zelda, and I'm only exaggerating a little. His first speedrun was back in 2010, and his last submitted one was in 2023. Yeah, this guy is the real deal. Anyway, SVA started running Twilight Princess Any around late 2015. He had held the Any world record for every mainline 3D Zelda game except Twilight Princess at one time or another, so it was only natural that he'd go for the last one he needed. And as you can imagine, it went pretty damn well, given that SVA had a deep understanding of the game's tricks and glitches. SVA was also doing a technique that had become infamous for its difficulty, skip. This was discovered in 2014 by Dragonbane and refined by Rachel Brick, with some modifications by Venick, aka Fino's Tormentor. Skip involves jumping on a small pillar on Arbiter's grounds to avoid having to defeat a Poe, which saves almost a minute. Well, SVA used this and other glitches to power his way to get the world's first 257, and he did it 3 days after Demon. It wasn't quite as rough as Zaf's mere one-day reign atop the Any leaderboard back in 2014, but Demon still didn't get to enjoy the fruits of his labor for very long. And with that, SVA got the last Any record he needed to say that, at one time or another, he'd held every mainline 3D Zelda Any world record. He'd end up continuing his streak with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, not to mention grabbing the TP 100% record from Adam later in 2016. I believe the technical term for this is king behavior, but you know what's even cooler than having world records? Having an emote made of you. Demon got right back to work trying to get the record, and by mid-February, he was just 3 seconds behind world record. But the 4 seconds he needed to beat SVA were elusive, and he was still chasing the world record on March 3rd, 2016, when somebody named Gymnast86 released the first ever tool-assisted speedrun of Twilight Princess. You may have heard of Jim. He is yet another prolific Zelda speedrunner who's held many world records, though never TP any %. Jim has focused much more of his effort on Twilight Princess HD. He posted his first Any time in December 2014, a 3:33.54, and gradually lowered his time until his 3:17.05 in February 2016. But we're not here for his speedruns, we're here for his tasks. Now, Jim said that the task was more of a first draft. There were plenty of optimizations still to be made. And yet the task's final time was a shocking 2:42.42, nearly 15 minutes faster than SVA's record. Where did Jim find all the time save? Well, according to Hornlets, it was mostly due to frame-perfect rolling that allowed Jim to constantly achieve maximum speed. An individual roll might not win you much time, but over the course of a nearly 3-hour speedrun, that's how you save 15 minutes. Demon finally got over the hump a couple weeks later with a 2:57.22, besting SVA by 11 seconds. And surprisingly, nobody came for Demon's record for months. Adam was busy getting multiple PBs and no save and quit in all dungeons, so Demon went back to 100% and grabbed the world record there in April. The lack of top runner attention toward Any allowed a new group of runners to flourish. A German runner named Keysmaster, who'd started playing Any in 2015, got a 3:01.07 by September. Molski, a Finnish runner, had a 3:03.36 by June. And you'll remember Chaotic Ace, the emergency Any runner at SGDQ 2015, had a 3:03.47 by June. Hell, even Masked Baguette, a French runner who'd started their Any career with a 3:30.31 back in March 2014, ended it with a 3:14.03 in late January. And not only this, Keysmaster organized the first ever Wolf Dash tournament, which was held on January 15, 2016. This was an Any competition with 21 players all vying to be the best. Adam and SVA sat this one out, but players like Demon, Keysmaster, and the immortal Masked Baguette all participated. Old friends like Zaf, Dragonbane, Fino, and Mofet also showed up to participate. And wouldn't you know it, Masked Baguette got third. I love Masked Baguette. As you can see, this was an important time for the future of TP speedrunning in a lot of ways, and events like Wolf Dash helped to keep interest in the speed game up when it was threatening to die down in early 2016. But in October, a shockwave hit the TP community. Adam had returned to any percent and had just posted a 2:57.36. All eyes turned to Adam once again. Could he beat Demon's world record after not having run any percent for almost a year?
I don't even care, I choked. I like this time.
2:56.35. Almost a minute faster. Adam didn't just beat Demon's time, he annihilated it. I have never used this word in one of my videos before. I am about to use it now. This run was godlike. It simply stands alone among all runs of this generation. Adam is preternaturally calm throughout the entire run.
Phew.
This probably helped him to get the incredibly difficult post skip on his second try, which required great precision and skill. I want to impress on your mind just how many high-level runs were lost to this one trick back in 2015 and 2016. It was a morale killer, a soul grinder, a run destroyer, and Adam calmly completed the trick with ease. This run was so clean, so technically proficient, and so far above the ability of anyone else in the community that it instantly killed any percent. While others could match Adam in skill, no one else had the motivation to do run after run with the possibility that they could lose it to post skip an hour and a half into the run. And with that, Adam had conquered the game. There were no other challengers. Not anymore. In the space of 3 hours, the golden age of Twilight Princess speedrunning had ended. Now, don't get me wrong, people were still speedrunning the game after this. Molsky and Chaotic both improved their times in 2017, while JDLM and Keys became the 4th and 5th people to get sub-3s. Most excitingly, 2 old-timers, Rodner and Zaf, both returned. Zaf hadn't seriously worked on any percent since 2014, and he quickly dropped his time from a 309 to a 302. And Rodner went from a 259 to a 258, and then disappeared from the game forever. It says something about the state of the game when the most exciting thing to happen to TP in 2017 was 2 former world record holders returning to set non-competitive PBs. To make matters worse, not a single world record was set in any of the 4 major speedrun categories. The game seemed well and truly dead. And yet, there were flickering signs of life in Twilight Princess during 2018. Keys doggedly continued running the game, while the legendary Samurai Man returned from a 3.5-year hiatus to lower his time to a respectable 304. New runners like Anarakis and Bruggles started their any percent careers in 2018 as well. And behind the scenes, the glitch hunters were working overtime to resuscitate the speedrun. Dragonbane had kicked off a huge glitch renaissance in TP by discovering clawshot actor displacement in 2017. To quote Hornlitz, by clawshotting certain actors and pulling Link into a falling state as it connected, the clawshot target would be pulled towards Link instead of the other way around. Dragonbane didn't know what to do with it, but a year later, our old friend Gymnast found 2 skips in the game that utilized the trick. One was Stallord's skip, which used clawshot actor displacement to manipulate a Redead Knight and clip through the exit door of Stallord's chamber, thereby completely ignoring the Stallord boss fight in Arbiter's grounds. The other was a small key skip in City in the Sky. These tricks were TAS only, but Gymnast was able to use them to create a revised version of his TAS that lowered TP's theoretical time to 2:33:10, more than 20 minutes less than the current world record. Most importantly, however, a glitch hunter named Mr. Men discovered an extremely easy way to set up post-skip, meaning it was no longer a near-death sentence for promising runs. Because of that discovery, there was a much higher possibility of a top-level runner being able to push a run into world record territory. You can probably guess what's coming next. Yeah, Adam was back. Again. He'd taken a long break from the game, only deciding to return once he'd seen post-skip become much more manageable. Adam liked to use his sum of best, or the total of every gold split he'd ever achieved on the run, as a measure of his improvement. So while he enjoyed achieving 2 world records in October, which lowered the best time to a 2:56:09, it's likely that he saw his sum of best dropping from 2:53 to 2:52 as just as big of an improvement. Adam's latest world record wasn't like his previous ones, where he'd generally enjoyed green and gold splits the entire way. He'd come from behind, getting into a pretty deep deficit in City in the Sky, and only barely managing to climb out of it after the light sword split. Adam was beginning to run up against an enemy that even he couldn't beat, time itself. And, for the first time in 2 years, he had a challenger for the world record. You will recall that for one day back in 2014, Zaf had held the any percent world record before being unceremoniously dumped back into second by Rodner. Whether from embarrassment or simply not having anything else to prove, Zaf did not competitively play Twilight Princess for 3 years afterward, but he returned in 2017 to obtain a 3:02:02. He took another break, but this time he returned in 2018, and something was different. He got his first sub 3 hour in September, and by how much effort he was putting in, it was clear Zaf was on the hunt for world record. As with anyone who'd chased the record, sometimes Zaf looked like a god. And sometimes he committed novice errors. But he was improving shockingly fast. This was a very different Zaf from the 2014 edition. He got into the 256 range by early October, and then did what seemed to be impossible. He beat Adam with a 2:55:23. And he did it in the most epic way he could, by golding his final split. Zaf had done it. He'd redeemed his 2014 embarrassment. And this time, his record lasted for over a month, more than enough time to luxuriate in being the best. Zaf would keep trying for 2:54 for a little while, but he never PB'd again, and eventually faded out of the TP speedrunning scene entirely. Still, he'd gone out as one of the best to ever do it, and his redemption arc is one of the most compelling in Twilight Princess history. But Adam was inevitable, and he struck back on December 3rd, 2018. I'll let him tell you how good the run was.
Yes. That was a sick run. Within 3 minutes of the sum of best with the void out and all the stupid things. Good. I'm so glad I didn't choke. I played so well for the whole run. I had like a couple really stupid mistakes, but good.
Adam credited Zaf for inspiring him to keep grinding on any percent. Zaf's world record had drawn one more virtuoso performance out of Adam, but Adam said he didn't really want to do any percent anymore, instead turning his attention to 100% and all dungeons, which he would run on and off until late 2021. He had nothing left to prove in any percent. He was indisputably the greatest runner of the game. And with that, we say goodbye to Adam. Surprisingly, the next challenger for the world record was Chaotic Ace, the emergency SGDQ runner. You'll recall that Ace had ended 2016 with a 3:03:47. Well, he was one of the ones keeping TP alive during 2017 too, ending the year with a 3:01. Most impressively, he ran several other Zelda games, including The Wind Waker, over the course of the year. It's probably Wind Waker that Ace is best known for, as he had previously held world records in the 100% and PST categories of that game. But for whatever reason, Ace had always been a little bit of an underdog in the TP community and was never viewed as a serious world record player. Maybe this stemmed from his average time on the big stage at SGDQ. Maybe it was because he was always just a few minutes behind world record, no matter how hard he tried. Even the 257 TP run that he got in August 2018, which put him about a minute behind world record, had splits that were all over the place, with big time gains and losses, until he was able to push his time into the green near the end of his run. For whatever reason, consistency in Twilight Princess seemed to elude Ace. Then Ace took a break from any percent to work on all dungeons. And this time, consistency did not elude him, because he's the one who ended Adam's 4-year run as world record holder for all dungeons. In fact, Ace beat Adam's record by a minute and a half. With that, Ace turned his attention back to any percent. He still struggled to put it all together. He got a 256 that could have been second place on the leaderboards, if not for a very unlucky void out at the end of the run in Hyrule Castle. Then he lost 30 seconds to post skip a few weeks later while getting a 255.40, preventing him from getting second yet again. He slaved away for weeks more, but 2019 arrived without any success. Well, here we are on January 3rd. There's Ace looking like Bill Hader's artistic younger brother.
Like, if I get a 54 but have it not be the record, it's weird the way I think about it. I'd explain it, but it just wouldn't make sense.
I'm a little skeptical that he doesn't want the world record, but I'll reserve judgment. Now Ace loses his entire lead, and here we are with the big consistency swing. He's ahead now, but he gets bad Moldorm RNG and voids out. But he still golded that split, and he's ahead by 20 seconds going into the Argrok fight.
Wow.
Going into Zelda, he was 37 seconds ahead. It was all going to come down to whether Zelda gave him a good pattern or not. Seven cycles. Suddenly Ace was ahead of world record. All that remained was for him to execute. Could he do it?
I'm done. I'm done, dude. I'm this game. God, I'm so relieved. I'm just relieved right now. Like, I was convinced this would not be it.
It was over. Ace did it his way. Wild and undisciplined, and faster than anyone else ever had. Nobody would ever think he didn't belong among the TP greats ever again. Ace's Twilight Princess story ends here. He would never again PB in Twilight Princess. But his brilliant world record set the stage for an amazing 3 months for the game. First, a runner named Ether led the triumphant return of Twilight Princess to games done quick. Ether was a high-tier runner of the game, though never considered a record contender. He'd performed all dungeons at Calithon in April 2018, then reprised it at AGDQ 2019. Second, the immortal Samurai Man reappeared to inch ever closer to a sub-3, getting a 302. And third, Demon returned, barely beating Ace's record by 3 seconds. But he wasn't finished. He kept grinding over the next month, and pulled out a 254.11 in late March.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm shaky. I'm shaky.
After 3 years away from TP, Demon was the king of any percent once again.
Actually, yes, I should be done with this. I shouldn't push myself. I can't. Honestly, I'm dying from it. I will leave the satisfaction for someone to get sub 254. Someone else can do it.
But Demon wasn't just killing himself, he'd killed any percent. Adam was gone, Ace was gone, and nobody else was really interested in grinding the category anymore, even though Demon himself said that the run was very beatable. Demon moved on to Wind Waker HD Any%, but not before joining Adam as one of only 2 men to destroy Twilight Princess Any%. The silver age of Twilight Princess speedrunning was over. And with that, Twilight Princess fell into another dark age. Not a single top 4 category would have its record broken over the rest of 2019. 2020 was also a bad year for the game, but it did see the dawn start to peek over the horizon. Many new speedrunners began playing TP in this year, and Keysmaster, the Wolf Dash tourney organizer, took his turn on the top of the leaderboard with a 254.09 on June 8th, 2020. But otherwise, this was a very bad time to be a fan of high-level Twilight Princess competitive play. Thankfully, 2021 would change all this. And our old friend Fino would be the catalyst for both. First, Fino had returned to speedrun Any% off and on in 2020 in pursuit of a sub-3 hour. After 10 years of grinding, Fino finally got it in March 2021 with a 259.45. Ever the comedian, Fino submitted his time to speedrun.com with the words, "I trained 10 years for this." As momentous as this occasion was, Fino's other project was ultimately huge for the game as a whole, and ushered in a whole new era of Twilight Princess speedrunning. Alright, meet TPGZ, the initiator of Twilight Princess's Machine Age. It was programmed by multiple people including Fino, Taka, Chris Midnight, and others. It's a robust practice tool to help Twilight Princess speedrunners practice difficult tricks like Gorge Void or Sword and Shield Skip. Runners can set flags at different points of a save state to instantly reload them if a practice attempt fails. It is no exaggeration to say that the explosion of personal bests in Twilight Princess in 2021 is a direct result of the enhanced practice afforded to runners by TPGZ. TPGZ released at the very end of 2020 and was consistently updated over the first months of 2021. By mid-March, Nimzo had gotten a new world record and the world's first 253. Wait. Hold up. Who the hell is Nimzo? Well, he was a Skyward Sword runner who'd held that game's Any% record multiple times over the late 2010s, during the initial back-in-time revolution in that category. Eventually, he decided to try his hand at TP Any% in 2019. He started a month after Aether's Twilight Princess run at AGDQ, for what it's worth, and may have gotten the inspiration to switch from there. Anyway, Nimzo improved rapidly, eventually getting a 255 in mid-2020, but disaster struck when he lost his game disc. Nimzo languished without one for months until finally getting a hold of another in early 2021. From there, progress was again swift, and on March 16th he got his first world record. This was just 2 days after Fino's epic sub-3. Correlation equals causation, right? Obviously Fino made Nimzo's world record possible. A week later, Wolf Dash 2.0 was held, with Keysmaster again taking first and Nimzo taking second. Other up-and-coming players like Simikins and Bruggles did well. Veterans like Fino and our old friend Mokady also participated. As it had 5 years earlier, Wolf Dash put a shot of adrenaline into TP. The excitement of the tourney seemed to motivate many community members to push for new personal bests. Demon himself returned at this time, but he was stepping into a new age, with many new adversaries. This time he wasn't just fighting Nimzo. No, this time Twilight Princess had 3 world record contenders. Marco was the other one, and he'd started speedrunning TP in August 2020. However, like Nimzo, Marco was a very experienced speedrunner, with times in most Zelda titles and Super Mario 64. By March 2021, he was in a position to get world record. But it was Demon who first struck against Nimzo with a 253.28. Then he got the first 252 ever. Nimzo managed to retake the record on May 21, but that was it for him, and he exited stage left. His record stood for a few weeks until Marco conquered him on June 10th. Then Marco 2 was finished, one world record being enough for him. But where was Demon? As it turns out, he was about to pull off the greatest feat in Twilight Princess speedrunning. It started innocently enough in May 2021. Adam had held the any % no save and quit record since February 2019. Over the course of a few weeks, Demon beat Adam's record and lowered it to 3:05:36, which is where the time sits today. Then Demon switched his attention to the 100% record, which Adam had held since October 2020, and sliced over 10 minutes off it in June. Adam got a brief revenge by taking Demon's All Dungeons record in August, but it was only a 2-second PB, and Demon quickly got it back 4 days later. For those of you following along at home, that means Demon was just one world record away from the Big Four. All that was left was Marco's any %, and that is exactly what Demon focused his attention on next. It was a slow grind for the record. Marco's PB was really, really good. After butting his head against the wall for a couple months, Demon decided he needed to do something absolutely nuts, something that had been to that point considered tasks only, something that would change the Twilight Princess community forever. He was going for Star-Lord skip in a run. Now, this isn't quite as unhinged as I'm making it sound. Demon had collaborated with runners G's and Bowser's board a few months before to put together a human viable setup for Star-Lord skip. But it had never been tried before, and it had the potential to blow up whatever run Demon tried it in. Well, it didn't. And in fact, Demon got world record in that very same run. That's right, Demon's first time ever using Star-Lord skip pushed him over the world record finish line. This time, nobody was there to prevent Demon from capturing the 4th and final major TP world record. Demon was the second one to ever do it. He was immortal. But he didn't stop there. A week later, he pulled off the first ever 2:51. A week after that, he improved his time by 9 seconds. And then, after weeks more grinding, and 2 days before Christmas, Demon got a 2:51:06.
Okay, this is actually gold pace. Like, actually gold pace. I think that's the fastest Zelda I've had. No lie.
What a Christmas present. And with this, Demon stepped away from Twilight Princess for good. His long 8-year journey was finished. Once upon a time, it was unthinkable, but he'd eclipsed even the great Adam. Who was there to challenge Demon? Who could possibly compare? Well, there's someone I haven't talked about yet. Somebody who had been doing runs almost every day since autumn 2020. I wasn't joking when I called this section of the video the Machine Age, because this guy is made of steel. Meet Bewildebeest, or Beast as most of his viewers call him. He's a music teacher, jack of all instruments, and a gigantic goofball. At first glance, this is not somebody you'd think would be a speedrunning machine. Beast's personal interactions reflect an air of casual charm and thoughtfulness. Some might even say southern gentility, and for a long time, he broadcast twice weekly Twitch streams where he'd remix game music and play most of the instruments live. In fact, you've been listening to a lot of Beast music over the course of this video. He's very musically talented. And again, he's extremely silly when he wants to be.
Oh baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad. So be wise and keep on reading the signs on the bottle.
He's also just built different from other speedrunners. Let me read you exactly what he was doing to the any % category over the last few months of 2020. September 20th, he got a 338. September 26th, 326. October 5th, 320. October 12th, 317. October 21st, 312. November 3rd, 310. November 9th, 308. November 23rd, 303. November 27th, 302. And December 23rd brought a 3:00:22. He improved his PB by 38 minutes over just 3 months. Now, it's not necessarily the speed that I want to emphasize here. Some runners like Marco had Similar improvement over the same amount of time, although Beast's rapid series of PBs was certainly unusual. No, what I want to emphasize is Bewildebeest's ability to grind. He wasn't the most skilled or experienced, but he showed incredible grit even in these first few months. He'd get sub 3 at the beginning of 2021, then as Marco, Nimzo, and Demon began their three-way battle for the world record, Beast would push his any percent PB to 256.47. At the same time, he was learning Wind Waker HD all dungeons and Majora's Mask 100% glitchless. How did he have time for this stuff? Beats me, but he switched to Majora's Mask full-time in summer 2021 and sliced 35 minutes off his PB over the next few months to capture world record in November 2021. He'd lose it a couple weeks later to the longtime world record holder Trev Person, however. For many speedrunners, this would be the pinnacle of a career, or at least a signal to chase a new milestone in a new game. And it's true that Beast has never returned to Majora's Mask 100% glitchless, but for him, this was only the beginning. Beast wouldn't challenge Demon in any percent just yet. Instead, he turned his attention to 100% and decided he'd grind that out. It took him almost 5 months, but he finally beat Demon 622 by almost a minute, then took the time to a 620 by the end of April 2022. Beast had struck the first blow against Demon's hold on the Big Four. But here's the thing about Beast. He cares more about competing against himself than he does against others. So when he returned to any percent in May, and immediately took his time from a 255 to a 251, skipping 3-minute barriers, most people probably expected him to keep working for any percent world record. But instead, Beast chose to switch to all dungeons. It took him only 3 weeks to get the world record from Demon. How was Beast doing this? He said at the time that he felt 100% was an excellent way to improve his entire TP skill set, which he could then apply to other categories. And honestly, who could argue with the results? He went back to 100% to get 3 more world records over the course of August and September 2022, and inevitably, Beast had run out of lands to conquer except for one. He'd said that any percent no save and quit didn't interest him as a speedrun, and that left any percent. So, Beast went back to grind it. There was something different about him now. The Beast of 2021 had laughed, joked, and smiled easily. Not this Beast. He was calm and focused, acknowledging chat but rarely interacting with them. Perhaps this is a natural consequence of his channel growing from around 25 average viewers in early 2021 to about 125 in late 2022. Suddenly every stream seemed to have a few randos in it that couldn't quite understand why Beast sometimes failed glitches or even why he wanted to glitch in the first place. The only emotions he allowed himself were frustration and anger. These seemed to feed a sort of rage within him, a rage that he could not play as perfectly as he knew he could if he only executed a little bit better. And yet Beast was playing Twilight Princess better than almost anyone else had before him. It was a paradox that transformed Beast into something different than any Twilight Princess runner who had come before. After 2 years of fierce grinding, Beast had become a speedrunning machine. Which brings us to October 20th, 2022. Beast had been working on any percent for a month with little success. And this run in particular was no better. An hour into it and he was over 30 seconds behind his PB. Then he got behind by over a minute in Lakebed Temple. It was not looking good. And then he started bringing it back. An absolutely stellar Arbiter's Grounds. The sight of so many crushed dreams for an earlier generation of Twilight Princess runners marked the beginning of the comeback. And then he kept all the time save. Going into Hyrule Castle, Beast was about 90 seconds ahead of his PB and easily ahead of world record. He'd PB, but world record depended on a good Zelda and a good Ganondorf fight.
Alright. Well, pressure's on. No, Prince, it shouldn't. Oh, I see, Glippers. Okay. I'm real proud of that.
Beast's facade finally cracked a little bit. He'd done it. First 250 any percent in history. He could finally say he was proud, and he had good reason. He'd taken a run made out of straw and spun it into gold. For all those in Beast's community who had accompanied him on his journey, it was a moment of catharsis, and it had been a privilege to watch his 2-year evolution from speedrunning hopeful to Twilight Princess legend. What could Beast do from here? Well, he started diving into smaller Twilight Princess categories like All Mirror Shards and Goron Mines RTA. By this time, Twilight Princess had a thriving category extension speedrun scene, including such prestigious speedruns as Hold a Dog and Jump Off the Ladder and Die. TP had also developed a thriving community race scene as a result of Wolf Dash and some determined organizers, which helped various runners get personal bests. Beast was a beneficiary of this when he returned to 100% in December 2022 to de-rest for a community race and ended up improving his world record by 40 seconds. By this time, Beast had become a pillar of the TP community, and not just because he was the greatest active runner. Beast was modding for several other TP runners and creating commentated YouTube videos that helped explain various Twilight Princess speedruns. These videos are very funny, and show off Beast's sense of humor quite well. For all of his seriousness on stream, Beast was still very warm and friendly off it, and his mentorship of various TP aspirants was helping to build the overall community to the best place it had ever been. But remember, with Twilight Princess, there is always a king, and there is always a challenger, and Twilight Princess was about to get a huge dose of controversy from Beast's first competitor. Mr. Alberto 23 had begun doing any percent runs of Twilight Princess since the summer of 2022, right after Beast set the All Dungeons world record. Alberto was a very strong Wind Waker HD player with multiple world records under his belt. He'd also done a single run of Twilight Princess HD any percent back in 2020. Apparently, that was enough for him to try the GameCube version. Controversially, Alberto openly said he hated Twilight Princess and was only running it so he could get more exposure for his Twitch channel and eventually get partner status.
I was really wanting to do OT after TP anyway. Like, if TP didn't get me partner, which TP's not getting me partner, then I would do OT. And, well, TP didn't get me partner, so we're gonna do OT because I really, really want to grow on Twitch. I'm very tired of seeing no growth.
As you can imagine, this did not sit well with quite a few members of the community. And what made it worse, Alberto was damn good at any percent. In many ways, Alberto was the negative image of Beast. Where Beast was taciturn on camera, Alberto was talkative.
I'm not feeling great about the tricks. I've never been feeling good about the tricks, but I really hope I get them this run.
Where Beast had seemingly made it his mission to build the TP community, Alberto had intentionally antagonized it. And where Beast had endeared himself to many runners, Alberto, to put it plainly, had not.
Dude, the controls in this game are just awful.
So, many people watched with trepidation as Alberto's PB crept closer and closer toward Beast's over January and February 2023. Well, Alberto did it, and not many were happy about it. To make matters worse, Beast and Alberto both submitted any percent to Summer Games Done Quick 2023, and Alberto was selected.
Hello, GDQ! Woo! Woo! You guys ready for some Zelda?
Never mind that Beast had invested countless hours into building the community and held several other world records in the game. Never mind that Alberto was a relative newcomer to the category and hated Twilight Princess. All the GDQ Games committee saw was that Alberto's PB was 44 seconds faster than Beast's. GDQ's selection process is a story for another video, but it was difficult for many people to think anything other than Beast got screwed. Beast himself was pretty tight-lipped about it, but the snub affected him. After a half-hearted attempt to reclaim the record in April, Beast took a break from TP entirely and tried 100% Wind Waker instead. He of course was in the top 10 after a month, but it wasn't Twilight Princess Any %. I want you to put yourself in Beast's shoes right now. What would you do? If you challenge Alberto for any %, you have to face the prospect of another huge grind for the record. If you challenge Alberto, you have to fight every day not to give up and let yourself and your community down. If you challenge Alberto, you have to face the very real possibility that you may lose. But you can also take courage from all the Twilight Princess runners who've come before you. You can think of the trailblazer Giano, and Aruki who worked so hard to pass down the knowledge they'd gained, and the god Fino, with his easy humor. You can think of Rodner, the friend of everybody, and Zaf, who waited 4 years to redeem himself, and Adam, who fought time itself. You can think of Demon the Miraculous, and SVA the King, and Ace, who never gave up until he'd conquered the game he loved. And now it falls to you to take up their mantle at the darkest moment in the game's history, when one who hates Twilight Princess has taken its most prestigious world record and trampled on its good name, all in an attempt to gain notoriety. In Twilight Princess's desperate hour, a hero is needed. What would you do? In Beast's case, he was going to do it the only way he knew how, by grinding out a hell of a lot of runs and kicking ass. Except it didn't take a huge grind. It took less than a month. Within the space of 1 week, the world record had been beaten by over a minute. Beast had one more trick up his sleeve to give him an edge, a new route that utilized the empty Lake Hylia glitch. By starting Plum's minigame, clipping out of bounds, and dying via fall damage, the player respawns in a glitched Lake Hylia without water. This in turn allows the player to easily run to the lakebed temple entrance and clip inside using bombs. It had given him the edge he needed to obtain the sub 250, but he'd gone beyond that and gotten a 248.28. And that, my friends, is where the Twilight Princess Any % world record stands today. No one else on the leaderboards even has a sub 250 as of this video. Beast has totally destroyed the category, and so far, nobody else has challenged him. But Wildebeest's long odyssey to being the fastest man in Twilight Princess is finally over. Beast has been urged to capture the no save and quit world record from Demon so he can be the third man in history to hold the Big Four. But Beast isn't interested in the category, nor does he want records for record's sake. It's just not his way. Beast would rather work on improving a weak split in an obscure category than chase history. I think part of the reason is that Beast doesn't think he's that special. He just sees himself as a regular guy, who isn't even that good at Zelda speedruns. Never mind that he is the fastest human in the history of Twilight Princess Any %. Even in his most recent world records, he can be heard describing himself as someone who plays pretty okay on occasion. I'm not sure if Beast will ever change his mind about his accomplishments, but I am confident that history will remember him as one of the greatest Twilight Princess speedrunners of all time. I am also confident that his run of PBs from September 3rd to September 8th, 2023 will go down as one of the most electrifying weeks in the game's history. The skill required to slice over a minute off the world record time when the any percent record is as optimized as it is simply unmatched in Twilight Princess's long story. So why should we care? It's just a game, right? I mean, sure, in the way that football or soccer or baseball are just games, but humans tend to reveal a little bit of their innermost character when they engage in sports. And make no mistake, speedrunning is a sport, if only a niche one. And Twilight Princess is a part of that sport. I'm about to say something controversial. I've covered quite a few incredible speedruns on my channel, runs like Super Mario Bros., Knights of the Old Republic, and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! And even stacked up against those games, I think Twilight Princess Any is the greatest speedrun of all time. The sheer number of glitches and tricks that have to be learned and executed at a high level, combined with the near 3-hour length of the run, combined with the fact that Twilight Princess is something of an underdog in the eyes of many, make it irresistibly compelling. I understand that there are many games that could lay claim to be the best speedrun of all time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Discussing and debating what we love is part of the fun of being a fan. But for me, it's TP any percent, no question. So what's next for Twilight Princess? Well, the speedrun scene is in better shape than ever. Community races happen monthly if not more often. TPGZ has unleashed a new generation of speedrunners to join Bewildebeest. With the better practice options that TPGZ affords, it's much easier to work on difficult tricks and glitches. As a result, over 40 runners now have sub 3-hour times on the leaderboards. As for each of the categories, No Save and Quit is probably the quietest, but Anarakis, who has been speedrunning TP for over 10 years, posted a 309.52 in the category, good enough for 4th, in late 2023. We'll see if he keeps going with it. 100% has seen both Waterproof Teabag and G's get sub 630s, with Teabag missing second place by 6 seconds. Beast's record here looks quite invulnerable, however, because it has 8 minutes on Demon's second place time. All Dungeons was just broken by Beast when he dropped its world record from a 334 to a 331 a couple of weeks ago. And any percent? Well, it's possible that the world record competition may be heating up again. G's, who I mentioned already, broke into the top 10 with a 2:53.55 time a couple months ago. And even more excitingly, Marco and Nimzo have returned to the any percent chase, with Marco obtaining a 2:51.11 back in March. He's actively pursuing further PBs at this very moment. And Nimzo, well, he got a 2:50.02 a few days ago. It's entirely possible that by the time this video releases, Nimzo will have set the second sub 250 time in Twilight Princess's long history. And if he does that, you'll know that the any percent chase is on again. An earlier draft of this video said that Bewildebeest had killed the any percent category, and that given the extreme degree of difficulty that a sub 250 represents, we probably wouldn't see Beast's any percent record broken for a couple of years. But the events of the past few weeks have humbled me, and my confidence in being able to predict where the TP speedrun scene might be headed. The truth of the matter is, I don't know. Nobody knows. Nimzo could pull off a legendary run and beat Beast's time tomorrow. His sum of best is only 25 seconds or so off Beast's. His skill level is equivalent to Beast's. And yet, Nimzo could just as easily have months of runs that end up completely failing. That last minute and a half between Nimzo and the world record is a canyon as wide as the ones that carve Hyrule Field in its Twilight Princess incarnation. Nobody knows what will happen, and that's the fun of speedrunning, isn't it? Sometimes you get a Bewildebeest who comes out of left field to blow up the entire competitive scene of a game. Prodigies like Beast are what every speedrun fandom wants, and Twilight Princess has been blessed to have multiple paradigm-shifting speedrunners over its illustrious history. So, I'll ask the question again. What's next for Twilight Princess? I have no idea, but it is absolutely within the realm of possibility that an old hand like Keys or Adam will return, or the Demon will come back to get a sub 250, or that some obscure runner is pulling a Bewildebeest and grinding out big PBs on the lower parts of the leaderboard that we aren't paying attention to right now. We also can't count out the possibility that Twilight Princess still has glitches waiting to be discovered or properly understood. I'm still hopeful that there will eventually be a sub 2-hour any percent time that utilizes powerful techniques we don't yet know about. Whatever the case may be, you can bet that there are still plenty of chapters yet to be written in the story of Twilight Princess. After all, a hero's journey is never really over.